If you've been scrolling through endless lists of office equipment, comparing specs, watching unboxing videos, and still feel that knot in your stomach every time you think about spending money on a paper folding machine, you're not alone. The fear of pulling the trigger on a tool that ends up gathering dust in the back of a filing cabinet is real, especially when you're trying to streamline a busy office or a home-based business that churns out invoices, brochures, or certificates every day. I've spent the last few weeks talking to people who run small print shops, office managers at mid-size firms, and even a few freelance graphic designers who have tried manual folding versus automated solutions. What I found is that the decision usually hinges on three things: how many sheets you actually need to fold each hour, how consistent you need those folds to be, and whether the upfront cost will pay itself back and save time. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Formax FD38X automatic office paper folding machine positions itself right in the middle of that sweet spot. It's not a massive industrial unit you'd see in a large printing plant, but it's also not a tabletop hand-crank gadget you'd use for occasional flyers. At a glance, the FD38X promises to take a stack of up to 38 sheets and output a crisp, single-folded packet in a single pass. For anyone who routinely needs to prepare multi-page packets, think HR welcome kits, client proposals, or even wedding invitations, that speed can be a game changer. First, let's talk about the real-world workflow. Imagine you're an office manager at a boutique marketing agency. Every Monday morning you receive a stack of printed pitch decks, each 10 pages thick, that need to be folded in half before they're handed to senior staff. Doing this manually, even with a decent folding guide, takes roughly 30 seconds per packet. Multiply that by 20 packets and you're looking at 10 minutes of repetitive motion, plus the inevitable uneven folds that require refolding. With the FD38X, you feed the stack, press start, and watch as the machine pulls the sheets through rollers, aligns them, and makes a clean half fold in under 5 seconds per packet. In practice, you could churn out those 20 packets in about 2 minutes, freeing you up to focus on more strategic tasks. That's the core strength: speed combined with consistency. The machine uses a pair of synchronized rollers that grip the paper without leaving marks, a detail that matters when you're handling high-quality stock or glossy brochure paper. Users who have tried cheaper, hobby-grade folding devices often complain about smudges or misaligned folds, but the FD38X's design keeps the paper flat and the crease sharp. The result is a professional look that you can't achieve reliably with a manual hand folder, especially when you're folding dozens of sheets in one go. Another practical advantage is the adjustable feeder width. The machine accommodates paper from 70 millimeters up to 210 millimeters, which means you can run everything from legal-size contracts down to smaller flyers without having to buy an additional attachment. That flexibility is useful if your office handles a variety of document sizes throughout the week. I also noticed that the machine's control panel is intentionally simple: a single start button, a feed selector, and a small LCD that shows the number of sheets loaded. There are no cryptic menus or software updates to wrestle with, which is a relief for teams that don't have an IT specialist on standby. Now, no product is without its trade-offs, and the FD38X has a few that are worth mentioning before you decide whether it's the right fit. The first is capacity. While it can handle up to 38 sheets per batch, that's a hard limit. If you regularly need to fold larger signatures, say a 50-page contract bundle, you'll have to break it into 2 runs, which adds a bit of handling time. In most small office scenarios, that isn't a deal breaker, but it's something to keep in mind if you anticipate occasional high-volume jobs. Second, the machine is designed specifically for a single half fold. If your workflow requires more complex folding patterns like trifold brochures, gate folds, or double folds for booklets, the FD38X won't meet those needs. You'd either need to add a second folding step with a different device, or look for a more versatile, multifold machine, which usually comes at a higher price point and larger footprint. So, the FD38X shines when your primary requirement is a clean, straight fold, but it's not the Swiss Army knife of folding solutions. Power consumption is modest, which is nice for offices that track electricity usage, but the machine does make a faint humming noise during operation. In a quiet reception area, you might hear it, but it's not loud enough to be a distraction. However, if you plan to place it on a shared open-plan desk alongside people on conference calls, you might want to consider a dedicated nook or a small sound-absorbing mat. Maintenance-wise, the FD38X is relatively low maintenance. The rollers are made of a polymer that resists wear, and the